On the morning of December 10, 2025, in front of the Chinese embassy in central Berlin, multiple human rights organizations and civil society groups came together to hold a protest against the CCP's long-standing human rights violations, suppression of religious beliefs, and extension of its repression overseas.
在香港的香港人已经不可以发声了，所以我就希望在这里有这个机会，为在香港不能发声的人发声，说人权是一个非常基本的自由，每个人都应该有的自由。
Amy Siu further emphasized that the CCP has stripped Hong Kongers of their human rights and freedoms. The human rights situation in Hong Kong continues to deteriorate. Many people remain imprisoned, and even Hong Kongers living overseas are facing transnational repression. She called on people to stand up and speak out, stressing that this is not only the reality for Hong Kongers. Other ethnic groups and religious communities have also long faced similar circumstances. A representative of a Tibetan association pointed out that for decades, the cultural, religious, and social lives of the Tibetan people have been continuously disrupted by political repression alongside forced assimilation.
Nach 7 Jahrzehnten ist die Situation der Menschenrechte in China keinesfalls verbessert. Wir erleben zurzeit einen laufenden Genozid in Ostturkestan.
Stefan Siebenrock, director of the Berlin chapter of the Society for Threatened Peoples Germany, said that the growing number of persecuted groups shows that the CCP is expanding its crackdown on human rights.
在国际人权日，我们站在这里，在大使馆面前，为那些无法站在这里的人发声。我们站在这里，就是为了让自由和尊严这4个字。 不只是写在纸上的口号，而是真实真正的落实在我们每一个人的生活之中。
At the event, a Christian from the Church of Almighty God spoke out, exposing that for more than 30 years, the CCP's relentless arrests and brutal repression of the church have never ceased. According to incomplete statistics, as of June 2025, more than 500,000 CAG Christians have been arrested, and at least 307 have been persecuted to death. Each of these figures is marked by the blood and tears of Christians, representing stripped freedoms and destroyed lives. Behind every number are shattered families and traumas that can never be healed. She emphasized that the persecution is not confined to China's borders. In recent years, the CCP has carried out transnational repression against CAG members who have fled overseas, by coercing their relatives in China, monitoring overseas churches, conducting online smear campaigns, and interfering with asylum proceedings. Through these measures, the CCP seeks to forcibly extradite them back to China to continue the persecution. It has openly vowed to completely destroy the Church of Almighty God, declaring that it will not stop until the church is eradicated. During interviews at the event, several Christians said that it was only after fleeing to Germany that they experienced true freedom and human rights. They explained that they took part in the event to speak for Christians in China who have been silenced, while calling on the international community to pay attention to the religious freedom and human rights of Christians in China, and to protest and condemn the CCP's relentless persecution. Wang Shofeng, an initiator of the Alliance of the New Citizens movement, pointed out that in China, the law is completely subordinate to party power, and that so-called laws are nothing more than party law. He cited the cases of democracy activists Ding Jieshi and Xu Zhiyang, who were sentenced to 12 and 14 years in prison respectively, noting that these verdicts alone prove that a genuine rule of law simply does not exist in China. Media professional Su Yutong said that several of her friends have been sentenced to prison or held in long-term detention for their involvement in public affairs or for their religious beliefs, including Gao Zhisheng, a lawyer who has been missing for more than 8 years. She noted that she herself is also a victim of transnational repression. On November 26, 2025, while attending an event in Germany marking the 3rd anniversary of the White Paper movement. She was surrounded, followed, filmed, and harassed by several pro-CCP individuals. She has since reported the incident to German police and relevant authorities. Su emphasized that the CCP's extension of intimidation and surveillance onto European soil constitutes an open challenge to both national sovereignty and human rights. These cases demonstrate that the CCP's transnational repression is no longer a series of isolated incidents. It has become a systematic threat that is spreading across Europe. If Berlin was a place where protesters confronted power head-on, Paris carried the historic memory of liberty. On the evening of December 10th, the 77th World Human Rights Day commemoration was held at the Place de la Bastille. Human rights organizations from across Asia and Europe lit torches, displayed banners, and spoke out publicly, giving a voice to those still living under violent rule and brutal oppression. At the event, François Bichour, Paris City Councilor and Deputy Mayor of the 19th arrondissement, publicly expressed solidarity with Tibetans, Uyghurs, Hong Kong democracy activists, and Chinese Christians. He called on the international community to pay close attention to China's continuously deteriorating human rights situation. When interviewed, he said,
qui reconnaît à toutes celles et ceux qui souhaitent croire en Dieu, de croire en Dieu et de pratiquer dans le cadre de leur pays leur religion. Donc moi je préfère les gens qui croient en Dieu que les gens qui ne croient en rien. Voyez. Donc effectivement, la Chine populaire aujourd'hui, Xi Jinping, opprime les peuples qui croient et opprime l'Église de Dieu Tout-Puissant. Et bien entendu, je vous soutiendrai corps et âme dans cette bataille qui est une bataille pour les droits humains.
In her remarks, Christian Luonua said that for more than 70 years, religious persecution by successive CCP leaders has never ceased. She noted that since Xi Jinping came to power, the repression has intensified, crosses have been removed, churches demolished, biblical verses altered, and house churches shut down, while large-scale arrest campaigns have continued across the country. Many Christians from the Church of Almighty God have been detained. In some regions, almost no church leaders were spared, and many believers have disappeared or remain unaccounted for. Even for Christians who flee abroad, the persecution has not come to an end. During interviews, several Christians said that taking part in the human rights event made them feel the international community's growing concern for human rights and religious freedom. They emphasized that even after fleeing overseas, the CCP continues to target Christians through various forms of transnational repression. This shows that leaving China does not mean safety. They warn that Europe is increasingly becoming a new front for the CCP's transnational repression, and called on the international community to pay close attention and take actions to protect overseas Christians from further persecution. From Berlin to Paris, from embassy gates to the Square of Liberty, crowds raising banners and chanting slogans speak out for those who have been arrested, imprisoned, or disappeared. They stand here to tell the world what is happening in China is not just persecution. It is a CCP-led destruction of faith, conscience, and fundamental human rights. And this repression has long crossed national borders and spread across the globe. It is a blatant assault on the international human rights order. Defend human rights, defend freedom, oppose the CCP's totalitarian tyranny.